been talking about lots of different things, mostly about relationships. So as you are really thinking about relationships, what are some of the problems or concerns that seem to be the most intense?
Guys being stupid.
Okay.
That, and I guess guys being intimidated by me.
So guys are stupid and intimidated by you. They kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, I think so.
Tell me more about the experiences that you've had with guys being stupid and intimidated by you.
Well, tomorrow's Valentine's Day. I don't have Valentine, but given my past relationships, I'm a hard worker, so I'm involved in a lot. So they are intimidated by that, and they mess up, and they do stupid things to me. And then later on, they realize, oh, she was a good catch, and then they try to come back.
That's a pattern that you've seen repeat itself.
Yeah.
What would you want to be different?
I guess the kind of guy I come in contact with. I'm a senior, and I'm about to graduate. Applying to jobs. I want someone on the same level as me, same age.
Okay, so that's some criteria that you have. And just so that, to let you know, one of the things that we're going to do today is to talk about a skill that would help you in with the issues that you're dealing with.
Okay.
So I know that we've talked a little bit before, and I've gotten to know you. I'm just not really clear right now about, there are a couple of skills that I prepared to work with you on, but it would be helpful for me to know just a little bit more. Like you said something about they mess up. So we can't do anything about guys being stupid.
Right.
What we can focus on is when you notice that they mess up and what you do about it.
I guess the way I was raised, my mother has always taught me to be a strong woman. So, my dad's a hard worker, so I expect that from any guy I'm with. So when I don't see that they're putting forth the effort, it makes me upset.
You get upset when they don't put forth the effort.
Yes.
And I'm guessing that upset is frustrated.
It is frustrating because I feel like I'm putting 100% in and they're only meeting me halfway.
Okay. So you're putting 100% in and they only put 50% in.
Yes.
What else do you notice around all of this?
I guess because I do a lot and involved in a lot, I'm not always around. So I guess they tell me they feel neglected or what have you, whatnot. But I focus on my career and finishing school and my work, and I'm involved in clubs and activities.
Well, so what I'm wondering, there's something about your like the things that you value. Like you value being active, and it sounds like you also value. And I'm kind of inferring this from other things that you've said. You also value a good education. How would you describe how you value relationships?
I believe family is important.
Yeah.
I guess in regards to romantic relationships, they're cool if you have it, but if not, life goes on.
Okay. So there's this part of you that says it's cool that you have it, and there's another part of you that says, well, life just goes on.
Yes.
And I'm kind of having a hard time figuring out how that translates then to having a good partner or having a good partnership.
I don't know. I guess because my mom always tells me, focus on your education and get your career going, because guys will come and go.
Okay. wonder, so one of the skills that we could talk about has to do with how you react to when a guy's sort of messed up, okay? And another skill that we could, we won't do both because we only have time to do one, but you get to choose. Another has to do with your thought process related to relationships, and how they fit in your life.
I like the second one.
You like the second one? Okay. So, what strikes me about your thought process is that you have some beliefs that are very rational. And there are ones that, you're shaking your head, you know where I'm going with this?
No.
What do you,
I'm always told that I'm like too rational. I'm always thinking. I just think things. So.
Okay. And sometimes what happens with our thoughts is that they kind of spiral out and become irrational. And then we start applying those to relationships. So the first thing that we want to do is to kind of make a list of the thoughts that you have about relationships. And then see where they're rational
Okay.
and where they've kind of spiraled out and become more irrational. It's often the ones that are irrational that most affect our relationships. So let's look at thoughts that you have or beliefs that you have just about relationships. And I didn't bring a piece of paper, so can you wait just a second and let me grab a pen and paper, because I like to write stuff out and I don't know why I didn't bring it, but I'll be right back. So we'll just start with, and we may not finish this today, but we'll get started on it. We'll just start with just some of the beliefs that you have about relationships. What are some of the beliefs that you have?
First, foremost, families first. That's my belief.
Right, you said that.
And relationships, it should be equal partnership. Believe the man should be a provider. And we're talking about romantic relationships, right?
That's because that's one of the issues that you're
Yes.
okay.
I believe a woman should work just as hard, not be dependent on a man. I believe we should be friends first. I really don't know after that.
That's okay. Well, so I've got families first, relationships should be equal, the man should be the provider, the woman should work just as hard and not be dependent on a man, and we should be friends first. So I'm gonna put that aside for a second, and let's look at like where have been the disconnects that have had you end relationships.
Okay.
So what's happened? You said something before that kind of stuck out in my head, but.
Like for example, one of the guys I was dating, I've worked since I was like 14 years old. I've always had a job, even in school, and he's here in the senior, but he doesn't have a job and he's not looking for one, and I don't see a future in that.
Okay.
And then I feel like the same guy, he wanted me to choose between going to spend Thanksgiving with my parents versus going to spend it with his.
Okay.
So I didn't think that was right because I don't get to see my parents that often.
what I wrote down is I don't wanna have to choose between my family and him. That was sort of a forced choice that you had. The one, what I wrote before too is, he doesn't have a job, isn't looking for a job, there's no future.
Yes.
That's sort of that process. Okay, what else?
Oh, he always used to tell me, or you guys have did before, that I'm too strong, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Too strong, or I guess I'm too, aggressive, what have you. So I don't understand that because that's how I was raised.
Okay. So that's been a sticking point. I'm trying to figure out how to put that down as a belief system. It's like there's something about
I was taught that you have to earn what you want. You have to work hard for what you want.
okay.
It's not going to be handed to you.
Uh-huh. I'm really visual, so it helps me to keep all this in. So I have to work hard for what I want. It's not gonna be handed to me. So, I'm gonna reread these and maybe, let's look at ones that are, really rational and ones that are looking like they might be spiraling out. Okay, so families first.
Yes.
Right, that's a value that you have. Relationships should be equal.
Yes.
Okay. Mom should be the provider, or the man should be the provider. I can't read my own handwriting. The man should be the
Yes.
provider. Okay. The woman should work just as hard and not be dependent on the man.
Yes.
Okay. We should be friends first, and then he doesn't have a job. He's not looking for a job. There's no future.
Yes.
Okay. You're smiling. Okay. So you're seeing some things. All right. So I don't want to have to choose between my family and him. Okay. And I have to work harder for what I want. It's not going to be handed to me. Okay. So the markers of the things that are sort of spiraling toward the irrational are words like should.
Right.
So with that in mind,
Well,
what do you notice?
it's like I'm giving myself an ultimatum, or saying if this doesn't happen, then it's not right.
Yeah. And that makes it really difficult then. It puts you in a really difficult position. And when you're in a really difficult position, the other person is too. Because then it does become an ultimatum. But it also sounds like there are places where you feel stuck. Like you're having to make a choice between, you said, family and him. You don't want to have to make that choice. The first thing you said, your family's first, so we know what your choice is going to be. So if we flip it, and he said to you, well, it's either me or your family, that's a hard decision for you too, isn't
Yeah.
it? And I'm guessing it would be hard for you to hear somebody else say, well, I'm sorry, I'm choosing my family first.
Right.
So just, you kind of get into that. Those beliefs that we have start setting us up for failure even. So if you could take a look at this list, and if we could start looking at just one, we're not going to take all of them, just one that we could potentially work on. What one stands out for you?
I guess the choosing between my family and him.
Yeah. So, what you're saying is that I have to make a choice. It's either or. That's what the bottom line is. It's either or.
Well, now that I'm talking about it, I think I can, find a way to compromise. Or there could have been a way to compromise.
Well, and I'm guessing if you knew how to compromise, you would have compromised. So I'm thinking, maybe that's the hard point for you. so I'm gonna write that down because I'm thinking that that's something that we could explore later.
Yeah.
We may not be today, cause really we're focusing on this information and skills, but that might be something else, that's another skill.
Yeah.
Okay. So this skill is looking at what your thoughts are and then starting to pay attention to the conflicts that come up from them. And the good marker for when a conflict can happen is that word should. And the founder of this approach, this rational emotive approach, says, don't should on yourself. So if you might even kind of think of that, I'm shoulding on myself. That's a good mark for, oh goodness, I'm doing it. Right? I'm thinking black and white. All right. So we've taken one, and so let's look at maybe another one on here.
Okay.
So what else stands out for you that you might want to start looking at a little bit closer?
I guess that the woman should work just as hard and not dependent on me.
Yeah. So how do you want to change that one?
I think we should say the woman has a choice to.
And if we add another twist to that, because when we start using I, it becomes personal.
So
What if you were to say,
I have a choice.
I have a choice? How does that sound?
It's actually like a big weight off my shoulders.
I'm gonna write that one down too, okay? And I'm thinking that as we do our between session plans, that might be just something for us to write down, just remember, I have a choice. So, we've talked about the kinds of thoughts that you have and how to start shifting how you're thinking. I'm wondering how, if this is something you can see yourself repeating.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So if we, in terms of between sessions, which one would you like to pick to just work on and kind of, maybe practice with?
Can I work on the I have a choice part?
Yeah. Well, let's see then how you might put that into practice over the week, because that's going to be important for you. Where do you see that coming up? Day to day or week to week?
I guess when I talk to my mom,
Okay.
she's always asking me what I'm doing, and I need to do this, I need to do that. And now graduation's coming up close. I think me saying or telling her I have a choice to do what I want to do, all that stuff would help.
It could, but I'm kind of also thinking that if you knew to do that before, you could have practiced it. So we could also practice it here, but that's kind of beyond. That would be yet another skill. Okay. So I'm thinking, how would your mom respond to your saying?
She'd probably say I'm crazy, or what am I talking about?
So what I know about making changes is that first we have to think about it, and then do some maybe practice before somebody who's really difficult. And you identified your mom, and I'm wondering if we maybe back up a step or two, I mean, you could try it and see what happens. you have some ideas, but you could certainly try it. So I don't wanna discourage you from trying it. I also don't wanna set you off.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, that's probably for later.
that would be huge. That would be a huge step. And I'm wondering, so how, that would be on a scale from 0 to 10, 10 being really, really confident. How confident are you right now that you could say, hey mom, that's a choice that I wanna make?
Maybe 2.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like there. So what we wanna do is maybe do some more practicing in here to build up your confidence. And get you to a better place, and maybe figure out some other strategies around that. Right? So, our time's up for today, but maybe, it's really kind of thinking about, keep planning, remembering, I have a choice, I have a choice, I have a choice.
I can do that.
Anything else that comes to you about what we've talked about?
I don't know. My relationship's over.
So you kind of like can't backtrack on that, right?
So I guess just tell myself every day I have a choice. Be the first step.
So you've already said it like 4 times right here.
Yeah.
How is that?
It's big stress reliever.
Yeah. Okay. You might just notice over this next week what happens, what continues to happen when you say, I have a choice. When you think, I have a choice. Even if it's after the fact. Even if you've sort of done something, you're like, oh man, that was a time I could have said I have a choice. Okay. So I'll see you same time next week.
Yeah.